Considering how long Westeros fans had to wait for House of the Dragon to finally start its sophomore year, it's shocking to realize the season is more than halfway over. It's been a solid batch of episodes thus far, filled with spectacle, shocking deaths, and a welcome return to the slow, deliberate pace and political intrigue that defined Game of Thrones at its peak. And especially since the Dance of the Dragons has officially kicked into high gear, now that the titular dragons have entered the mix, we can't wait to see where the rest of the season takes us. But this week's episode may have given us a surprising hint at the story's ultimate endgame, even if it's not immediately apparent right now. At Harrenhal, Prince Daemon has a nightmare about his mother, Alyssa, before Simon Strong wakes him up. Daemon asks for the time, and Simon reveals it's the Hour of the Wolf. While this might seem like a throwaway line, it hints at what could be potentially interesting world-building plot points to come down the road. What happens during the Hour of the Wolf in the GOT universe? In Westeros culture, there are 7 named hours, each named after an animal. The Hour of the Wolf, generally speaking, refers to the time range of 3 a.m. and 5 a.m., the darkest part of the night. Fittingly, important events in George R.R. Martin's saga that take place during this hour are particularly prone to mass killings, nightmares, evil, and overall unrest. This week's episode, Regent, sees Prince Daemon attempt to consolidate his power by ordering House Blackwood's army to slaughter House Bracken's innocent civilians and burn their livestock simply to force them to join his alliance. The longer Daemon spends at Harrenhal, the more paranoid he seems to become, as evidenced by his regular nightmares, a common occurrence in the Hour of the Wolf, and hallucinations of his possibly impending death. And perhaps most poetically of all, the River Lords awaken Daemon to denounce him as a tyrant right at, you guessed it, the Hour of the Wolf. Interestingly, the Hour of the Wolf didn't even originate from George R.R. Martin. Its first notable use was in Ingmar Bergman's 1968 psychological horror film Hour of the Wolf, where Bergman, one of the greatest filmmakers of all time, elaborates in a note at the opening, "It is the hour when most people die, when sleep is deepest, when nightmares are more real. It is the hour when the sleepless are haunted by their deepest fear, when ghosts and demons are most powerful. The Hour of the Wolf is also the hour when most children are born." George R.R. Martin has never been shy about incorporating references to actual historical events or other works of genre fiction in his work. England's succession crisis, The War of the Roses, famously inspired A Song of Ice and Fire. So it stands to reason that he would have drawn from Bergman's film to give readers a shorthand to quickly understand Westeros lore. If these last few episodes have been any indication, it very well also might turn out that the film's climax, in which the protagonist succumbs to madness, could foreshadow a dark future for Prince Daemon. Does the Hour of the Wolf foreshadow the war's end in House of the Dragon? Those familiar with Martin's novel Fire and Blood, the basis for House of the Dragon, know that the Hour of the Wolf isn't simply a world-building device, it's a key event in the Targaryen civil war. Lord Cregan Stark, the current Lord of Winterfell, first appeared in the Season 2 premiere, where he promises to lend some of his older Northerners to assist Rhaenyra in her campaign. But while viewers have only caught him in glimpses thus far, he becomes a key player in the war going forward, and he's, in fact, the central figure in the Hour of the Wolf. As depicted in Fire and Blood, Rhaenyra eventually takes King's Landing but is forced to flee only a few months later. When she returns to Dragonstone, Ser Alfred Boone betrays her, having newly sworn his loyalty to Aegon II, and he uses Aegon's dragon Sunfire to fatally burn and devour her. Her supporters continue to fight even after her death, and eventually, Aegon II prepares to surrender his cause, but before he can, his own men fatally poison him. Rhaenyra's son, Aegon III, is subsequently named the new king, and Lord Cregan, shortly after arriving at King's Landing, names himself Hand of the King. Upon assuming the position, Lord Cregan intends to continue the war, but he's prevented from doing so when Lord Corlys Velaryon enters into peace negotiations with the major houses. However, this doesn't stop him from seeking revenge against those responsible for Aegon II's death, even those he deems guilty by inaction, and in total, he arrests 22 men, including Lord Corlys. Bullying Aegon III into letting him reside over the trial, He ultimately deems 19 of the men guilty and sends them to the Night's Watch, and executes 2 others. Aegon III pardons Lord Corlys and returns him to his position. The Hour of the Wolf officially marks the end of the Dance of the Dragons, and Cregan resigns from his position and returns to the north the day after the executions, his bloodlust fulfilled. Aegon III promptly takes the Iron Throne, marrying his cousin Jaehaera, and he sets up a court of regents to rule until he comes of age. He was only 11 at this time. House of the Dragon has a long way before the endgame, of course. All of this isn't likely to happen until the tail end of the show, if not in the final season, which is still years away. And odds are, House of the Dragon's brief mention of the Hour of the Wolf probably wasn't meant to foreshadow anything significant during the rest of Season 2. Nonetheless, its inclusion is further evidence of how effectively the show's creative team has executed its world building, and it's still interesting to see even a brief hint of the endgame. Now, let's hope they execute it better than Game of Thrones did. House of the Dragon Season 2 is now streaming on Max.